Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join me for Dearly Departed, our look at the Championship teams that have managed to find their way up into the Premier League and how they are doing. We're talking Villa, Sheffield United, Leeds, West Brom and Fulham. Some are doing better than others, but we live in hope, don't we? And each and every week we preview and review their game weeks. And we're going to make some predictions as we ever do. We are up to game week number 8 in the Premier League. No dearly departed derbies now for a little while. So 5 games for us to look at. But as ever, before we do that, we say thank you to Jay Coyle, dearly departed, also known as Ben, couldn't bear to lose, as he is our fan sponsor for this show. He got involved on Patreon. You can do so. Patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you, Jay. And another quick plug. We're now up and running with, merchandise. The Benjamin Bloom Teesprings store. Underneath the video, you can get t-shirts, mugs, phone cases, hoodies, sweatshirts, all of that good swag. What else you got to do during lockdown, hey? Other than be on the internet spending money, hey? 2020, everybody. Here's how the table looks before we get into the games. So we have to go down to 8th position to find our first dearly departed team. Not that halcyon weekend when we had, I think, Leeds and Villa both in the top 6 at one point. But slight regression to the mean, possibly here for Villa. They've still got game in hand, haven't they? Although that is against Manchester City, to be fair. But 2 straight defeats for Villa, dropping them to 8th. Leeds are now into the bottom half there. 3 wins, 3 defeats. 2 defeats in the last 3 as well for Leeds. Still 4 points in 4 across those last 4 games, I guess. Fulham have moved out of the relegation zone. There you go. It shows in this Premier League where you've got elite teams at the top and a slow pace down the bottom, it shows what a win can do, doesn't it? Fulham, 1 win, up they go out of the relegation zone. That is mainly because, look, the entire bottom 3 have not won a game. So a lot of value in that victory for Fulham. They're out of the relegation zone. That victory came against West Brom and they drop in 18th there. Sheffield United are not bottom. They only have 1 point though, and Burnley do have a game in hand. That is our 5 teams. Let's have a look at our fixtures this week. I will obviously highlight the dearly departed, but I'll go through all of them. It is tonight Brighton and Burnley, and then Southampton v Newcastle. I thought they were trying to move those games early when it's a long journey for the team. Southampton, Newcastle, you don't go much further than that, do you? Then on the Saturday, Everton, Manchester United. And then our first dearly departed game is uncontested at 3 p.m. I think pay-per-view stopping this weekend, but is that a coincidence? Leeds uncontested at 3 on Sky Box Office. They're hoping to cash in on that big Leeds audience, aren't they? Although I think you can watch it on Leeds United TV, I guess, can you? Anyway, Palace versus Leeds. And then following that, Sheffield United visit Chelsea. And then following that, Fulham visit West Ham. So a dearly departed triple bill. If I was insane, I would have been doing all the way through there 9 hours stream or something. Got to be even more, wouldn't it, by the time we get through? But I'm not. So we just did a preview and we'll be reviewing all of these on Monday night. Then West Brom Spurs at lunchtime on the Sunday. Leicester Wolves we don't care about. Man City Liverpool, big game there at the top of the Premier League. But we care more in Dearly Departed about Arsenal versus Aston Villa late on Sunday night. That is our 5th team. And that is our first game that we are going to look at. Arsenal, Aston Villa. Villa visiting on the Sunday night. Indeed, the last game of the weekend in the 7:15 kickoff. And you can see there is the tail of the tape recently for these two. Arsenal, well, they've had quite a difficult run, actually, when you look at the fixtures. They've played Liverpool, Sheffield United, Manchester City, Leicester, and then Manchester United. So you would say in there, obviously Liverpool's very difficult. They're the champions. Manchester City is very difficult. They finished second. Leicester is tricky and they lost it. But what they have done is won the 2 games against teams who are not in good form, Manchester United and Sheffield United. So I don't really know how that reads vis-a-vis Aston Villa. We don't quite know whether Villa are in good form or bad form because it's patchy, because they won 4 straight games and then lost 2 straight games. The points tell us they're in good form across the 6 games, but there's more nuance within there, isn't there? So it's a bit tricky to analyse it in that respect. For Villa, it was the brilliant start, wasn't it? Clean sheet win, 7-2 against Liverpool. We'll never forget that. And then that great away win against Leicester, which made me very positive about Villa and the viability, because I thought, well, some mitigating factors in the first game, but great win against Leicester and 4 straight victories. However, the last 2 games, they've leaked 7 goals and lost 2 home games. Now, if I'm a Villa fan and I haven't left my bias at the door, and I'm thinking really, really positively, especially about that game against Southampton, there was the idea of a comeback at the end. Watkins scored, Grealish played well, and again, if I'm really whacking the glass half full narrative, I'm saying it's just not going to happen again this season, where the free kick taker from the opponent smashes 2 in the top corner and then the key striker smashes 1. It may happen for 2 goals like that in a game. I don't know, you might come against Tottenham and Harry Kane's just, zaps you from outside the box twice, or Liverpool in the front 3 destroy you or what have you. But surely 3 goals like that in one game it's not going to happen regularly, is it? Put it that way. So that would be one positive spin I would put on it. But 7 goals conceded in 2 home games is 7 goals in 2 home games. Again, you could say in Leeds, Pat Bamford was untouchable for about 30 minutes in that game and scored a hat-trick, didn't he? So, look, not a lot really we can read. The idea here, looking at those fixtures, is Arsenal have had some hard games, but have managed to put to the sword the 2 teams that weren't in a good moment. Villa had a crazy good start and then a nice viable win over Leicester, and then they've lost 2 games. Did they come up against teams really at it and players really at it? Probably, but that's not the only factor of analysis. So difficult to read into those last results, isn't it? For Villa, who are our main concern, obviously, and please, if you want some comedy, have a look at a Leicester fan's reaction to my Leicester Leeds review. No matter how I tried to explain what we were doing here, he wasn't having it, and I should spend the whole time talking about Leicester. I liken it to, if you are an opposition fan watching this, please welcome, but obviously you wouldn't go and complain to the Great British Bake Off that there wasn't enough singing on there. They would just say, go and watch a singing show. But this Leicester fan just wanted me to talk about Leicester. I suggested politely that he went and watched the Leicester channel, and I would say we are going to focus on Villa here, obviously. And the change that we thought might be made did get made, as in Bertrand Traore coming in for Trezeguet, front right. And again, if I'm Dean Smith, look, this is the team I've developed. It worked beautifully in the first 4 games. It makes all the sense in the world, this team, in terms of the goalkeeper and central defensive partnership, a new fullback in at right, balancing out the left back, McGinn further back with Louise. I say the same things every week. Grealish with more help from Barkley. The only spot was Trezeguet and Traore. Traore's got the shirt. We'll see who gets the shirt in the next game. You can see... actually, Traore got injured. Look at that, out 29 minutes. I assume that wasn't tactical after 29 minutes. But look, Villa fans will update me on that one in the comments. That's the only position, really. Ollie Watkins has got 4 goals now. I think what Villa fans will want to see is Watkins start to consistently score, because at the moment we've had a penalty and we've had a hat-trick in that mad game against Liverpool. They're going to want to see viability, which means, regular goals. But 4 goals is 4 goals, no matter how you get them, and that's nice. So, really, this is the Villa team this season. We're going to find out as we go how well that team will challenge. I like it, but whether that's going to be a top 8 team, a top half team, or somewhere in the middle, or God forbid even worse? We'll find out as we go. But there's a lot of optimism from those first 4 games is all I would say. And I don't see too much changing there, injuries permitting. So get your thoughts in that in the comments, Villa fans. Just in respects of that, I think that's the team. And just go forward with it now. Let me know if you think differently. I know football fans get a bit jittery after 2 defeats and want to completely change shape, formation and players. But that looks a really good solution to me with the Villa squad, I have to say. So for Arsenal, look, obviously, the star power is there, isn't it? Partey has been good in midfield since arriving. And then Willian, Lacazette and Aubameyang that's the test, isn't it, for the Villa backline. Holding Gabriel and Tierney in the last game with Saka and Bella in wing-backs. El Neni is the partner there. Look, we're not going to focus too much on Arsenal. Suffice to say that going away to Arsenal with Willian, Aubameyang and Lacazette up front, you've got to keep them quiet. But Villa have shown an ability this season to absorb, transition quickly, get Barkley and Grealish in good positions, nice and smoothly on the transition, and punish teams. We know now Villa have enough quality to score goals in the Premier League, and Grealish is now far harder to deal with the 4-2-3-1 system, and Barkley causing another problem than a 4-1-4-1 and just double him up on the side and get 2 men on him. So it's an interesting one. It's going to be a difficult one for Villa to go and get the win. I know Leicester went there and did so, as we saw in the fixture roundup there. But I'm saying tricky. People like me to make a prediction, so I'll predict a draw optimistically. It's going to be difficult. Let me know if you're a Villa fan, what you think in the comments, and more to the point, how Villa could get the win at Arsenal. I'm going to predict a draw. Get your thoughts in via the comments on Arsenal versus Villa. And next up is Crystal Palace versus Leeds. As I say, unopposed on pay-per-view at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. There you have it. So Palace versus Leeds. And the first thing I think when I imagine this game is that I want the custom of the 2 managers sitting in the office and drinking presumably some Argentinian red if Bielsa's. I'd love to hear the conversation between Bielsa and Hodgson. I think there'd be a lot of wisdom between those two, having worked for about 1,000 years as football managers between them. And so we're going to get a very good battle. We'll talk tactically in just a minute, but the tale of the tape says Palace have beaten Southampton, Manchester United and Fulham. They've drawn with Brighton. They have lost to Chelsea, Everton and Wolves. Is there a sense that Palace are playing their level and that their level is about, a third or 40% of the way down the table? And, they won't beat Chelsea or Everton, but they will give Fulham and Southampton a good game. Where do Leeds fit into that? We don't know yet, so it's a bit tricky to say. But we do know about Roy Hodgson that his teams are tricky to play against. They know how to not have the ball. They know how to not concede chances. And they know how to hold a stiff team shape, don't they? And it's so strange because we could attribute a lot of the qualities Hodgson has in terms of repeated patterns, training ground drills with Bielsa. And why I love this matchup is that they both have similar philosophies in terms of repetition and training and game state. But their teams look so different, don't they? I think it's a terrific matchup tactically. Leeds, a bit patchy now after the 3 wins there in 5 games. I know it was 3 wins in 5 up until the last game, but you do see the defeats coming in there now. Albeit, Leeds would say they were competitive against Liverpool in a 4-3 game. They were competitive against Wolves, and, Wolves was tricky sitting back and a deflected winner and all that. Not too many chances created, though. However, the last game against Leicester, look, 4-1 is the worst defeat, statistically, looking at the scorelines for Leeds. And it was just the first sense of, look, Leeds, welcome to the Premier League, and look at the scoreline, and I know we don't like single factor analysis on this channel, but look at the scoreline, and it does tell a story. And I think the discussion amongst Leeds fans, and certainly on the channel this week in the comments, has been how are Leeds going to cope during the season with teams that are pretty good without the ball, that maybe can counter-attack and still have that star quality up top. And you're now looking at the defeat against, particularly, ignore the Liverpool game, and you're looking at Wolves and Leicester. And yes, they do play in a slightly different manner, but what we did see in both games is 3 centre-backs, wing-backs that do a good job of getting forward, but are quite happy to fold in next to the centre-halves to create essentially a 5. And that ends up being a 5-4-1 as wide players come back. I think Wolves even literally sat with 3 central, if I remember it correctly. But Leicester particularly were happy to sit with a 5-4-1. And then just the quality then of Barnes and Vardy. And then you had Neto and Jimenez for Wolves sort of doing the same thing. Punish Leeds. So the discussion I was sort of having and the hypothesis I was coming towards on the channel and, interacting with Leeds fans was, will it be a net gain or a net loss? Leeds just saying, look, more times than often, if we stick with what we do, our pattern of play will be fine. There are a few good teams, and we're talking Leicester and we're talking Wolves, we might be talking Palace as well, that are very good without the ball, who might punish us. But in the main, most teams that play open, even Liverpool and Manchester City, will give a good game. Look, they lost 4-3 and drew 1-1 Leeds in those games, didn't they? The teams that would kind of like to be like Liverpool or Man City or Palace or Leicester or Wolves, but are not as good, will probably beat them. So what I'm pondering, and what I'm sure Bielsa is pondering in a far more intelligent and studious way than I or anyone comment on this video probably would, is would a little tweak of shape or I don't know, maybe holding a central midfielder a little bit, would that be helpful, or would that negate all of that 2 years of work on these patterns of play, which we all know is predicated on central midfielder back, playmaking with centre halves, fullbacks way forward, central midfielder get up, forward, wide forward players, Costa and Harrison narrow alongside, and you're talking about 3 back, 7 forward, aren't you? Essentially 7 in the other half. That's what we're looking at with the outfield players. Does a tweak to that need to be made in terms of, and we spoke about Villa actually, Villa going from a 4-1-4-1 to a 4-2-3-1. Is there a sense that maybe in some of these games, even if it's ultimately Click coming back alongside Phillips a little bit more, or does that negate all of the good work and the patterns that have been worked on over 2 years? I wonder. I really, really wonder. Do we get any sense of pragmatism from Bielsa for some of these games he's going to have to face? And I'm particularly talking Palace, Leicester and Wolves. Or is he what we think he is, an absolutist into the philosophy of, no, I believe my pattern of play over time will succeed, and gradually if I add better and better players into that pattern, surely up and up and up and up and up we go. I don't know. Is there short-term vs long-term, pragmatism versus philosophy? It's an interesting sort of calculation to try and come to. And I think it just happens in the season that Leeds get these fixtures close together where you get Wolves, Leicester and Palace within 4 games. I'm sure Leeds fans would be looking at the next game in Arsenal and thinking, right, okay, nice open game. We know exactly what to do in this one, and may the best and most attacking flowing team win. Get your thoughts in the comments. I think it's an interesting sort of position we arrive at here in Bielsa's tenure with Leeds. Also, if you know historically what he's done in the past and what that might predict, let me know in the comments. It's very, very much open. I'm very open to either way being right, and either way being a possibility, really, or a little amount of either. Anyway, so Leeds, I'm assuming, I haven't heard anything on Phillips that he won't be around. The back four was back to normal, wasn't it, with Aileen, Cock, Cooper, Dallas. Cock struggled with Vardy. Vardy's very good. Both things can be true, honestly. Click dropping back in there. I'd be interested in Leeds fans' thoughts on that. Did that work? Do we put it to one side? Would Struick be better there, just from a defensive point of view? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Hernandez and Shackleton, obviously no Rodrigo. I don't know. Does he return from his isolation? Costa, Harris and Bamford, that's going to stay. So all we're really looking at is central midfield there. In the absence of Phillips and or Rodrigo, what do you do? Hernandez had a lovely strop when he got substituted. Obviously, his quality is undoubted here. But I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I'm sure Mr. Bielsa will have an idea. Essentially, there's Tyler Roberts, Pascal Struick, Matt Click, Pablo Hernandez and Jamie Shackleton and Rodrigo to fit into those three positions, depending on who is fit and what Bielsa thinks will be the best solution. Often when we're trying to ponder Bielsa, what happens is he just does what he did in the last game and goes with it. So maybe it'll be completely unchanged, still depending on Rodrigo. Let me know about the isolation and all of that in the comments. For Palace, obviously, we know number 11, Wilf Zaha. That's the one, isn't it? And we did look at it prior to the Leicester game and say number 9, Vardy on the transition. Look out for that. And I think it's just a case in these games, can Leeds dominate the pattern of play and possession to the extent where there are very few moments where number 11, Wilf Zaha, is played into good positions on the transition with Ailing up here, Dallas up here, and loads of space. That's what Leeds fans want to avoid. You get a lot of joy by having Ailing up here, Dallas up here, everybody forward. It's beautiful to watch. We love it. But these are Premier League teams now that can absorb it maybe. And then if you can get Batshuayi, Zaha and Townsend quickly on the transition, then we know the danger that can cause. And we'll find out. I use the term kryptonite for Bielsa. Is quality players in a low block, good on transition with good forwards, going to be kryptonite for Bielsa? We'll find out through the season, and I'm really interested in your thoughts on whether you just stay your course philosophically and, okay, season 1 in the Premier League, you might lose a few of these games, but if you stick at it, what happens in season 2 and season 3 in the Premier League? Probably lose less of them. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. In terms of a prediction here, can we go for a Leeds away win? We haven't had one for a while, have we? A crazy away win prediction for me. Let's go for it. Go on. Leeds to win at Palace. Bielsa to stick with the philosophy and not too many chances for Zaha and Batshuayi on the transition. Get your thoughts in the comments. So, next up is West Ham United versus Fulham. And well done, Fulham. Congratulations. First win of the season and out of the relegation zone. You can see there, and with the low tide at the bottom, like I said at the top of this full video, a win means a lot at the moment when none of the bottom three have won. Go figure. And it had been defeat, draw, defeat, and finally the victory over West Brom. So, what's going to happen now? I try not to be too binary, but I'm going to be binary. It's one of two things for Fulham, isn't it? They've developed into this team, and we'll look at the shape and the formation and the back four they've come up with. They've won a game. Now, either they're going to stick with that, push on, and start to score a few more points, or what they've arrived at is only good enough to beat West Brom. No offence to West Brom. And they'll stick with it and start to lose again, or Parker will start to tweak again. So it's going to be a very interesting point now. And does Parker now, and he was quite stubborn with this last season, he got to his plan, his sort of 4-3-3, and he's stuck with it. The difference I've said a million times last year was he had Mitrovic in the Championship, which will bail you out of lots of games whilst you're getting your pattern of play up to speed. So I don't know. I assume after the win he sticks with what he's got and he hopes that it starts to work a lot better than... Look, all it's got to do is work better than 4 straight defeats for him to be kind of the affirmation to continue with what he's doing. West Ham, well, they've had a couple of mad wins, haven't they? Look at that. 4-0 over Wolves and then 3-0 over Leicester. They had that mad comeback as well against Spurs. Drew with Man City and only lost by 1 against Liverpool. So some would say those last 5 games for West Ham are encouraging. I've looked at the numbers for the game against Wolves and the game against Leicester. They were fairly lethal. They sat back and they killed them on the transition, didn't they? So that would be the plan, one would think. So that's where Fulham have arrived at, where last year we were used to Ruddock, Odoi, Hector, Reeve, Brian. Completely different now. Just 8 games into this season. Areola, Robinson, Adrabio, Anderson made his debut. Iain, the right back, scored that. Absolute worldie. Check out my watch along for my reaction to that goal. Great fun there. And Anguissa I enjoyed in the last game. I thought he played well. Sort of Lamina was the proper sitter and Anguissa had a little bit more swagger and carried the ball, and I thought that balanced out quite well with then Kearney ahead of them. Reed off the right. Lookman I'm really enthusiastic about. Good player, good sign in that one. And obviously Mitrovic up top. 2 assists in the last games. So I don't see much change in there. Perhaps you rotate Loftus-Cheek and Reed. Reed scored, didn't he? But particularly Kearney is the captain anyway, isn't he? Particularly the back 5, as in the goalkeeper as well, the double pivot and Kearney and Mitrovic and Lookman look fairly safe, don't they? Which is one position. So maybe Loftus-Cheek, Cavaliero, we'll see. If I'm Scott Parker and I've been looking for a formula and I've won a game, I'm not going to change too much. For West Ham, well, we can do a little bit of celebrating of some of our Championship players over the years. Obviously, on the bench there, the brilliant side Ben Rama. On the pitch, Jared Bowen as well, who really were, in terms of wide forward players, the best in the Championship over periods of the last few years, weren't they? Also, Aaron Cresswell is ex-Ipswich, isn't he? There. And Ryan Fredericks on the bench, Snodgrass as well. So, from a Championship point of view, we're familiar with a lot of these players. And Bowen has been very productive, hasn't he? Declan Rice and Souček is a decent standard of central midfield at Premier League level as well. This is going to be tricky for Fulham, isn't it? And I just hark back to the last 5 games for the Hammers. I'll put it up one more time. That is victories against Wolves and Leicester, a comeback draw against Spurs, who are on fire, a draw against Man City, and a narrow defeat 2-1 to Liverpool. So I think West Ham are going to win this one. Apologies to Fulham fans. I know, just out of the relegation zone and first victory, I think Parker sticks with what he's got. But I think West Ham at the moment are in a good vein of form under David Moyes. And I think it's going to be too much for the Cottagers of Fulham. But as always, let me know what you think down in the comments. Right, next up is West Brom versus Spurs. West Brom losing that big game against Fulham, dropping into the bottom 3, and now you have to face Kane and Son. And at the moment, Kane does pretty much look like the best player in the league, doesn't he? West Brom, no victories thus far. It's a struggle, isn't it? Leaking goals in the first 3 games, weren't they? 3, 5 and 3 is obviously 11 in the first 3 games. But then defeat against Southampton and competitive against Brighton and Burnley, but without beating either of them. And they could end up being direct rivals around that bottom 6 area of the table, couldn't they? Then it was a big game for both, wasn't it? West Brom and Fulham. And Fulham got the win in that one. Okay, a quick transition for the first goal and a worldie for the second one. But the game was lost, wasn't it, at the end? And West Brom will now look back at the last 3 games and think they haven't won any of them. And over this season, the bottom 3 are not going to score many points. We know that. That's how a league table works. Go figure. And winning those games is going to be so vital. And now you're going to start looking ahead, and Manchester United away and Tottenham coming up this weekend. And you then think, right, if you're drawing 2 games against Brighton and Burnley and then losing to Fulham, what's going to improve against Spurs and Manchester United? So that would be worrying from a West Brom point of view. From a Tottenham point of view, just really good at the moment, isn't it? And mitigating factors as well in the 2 draws. So 3 wins and 2 draws in the last 5. And I remember there being a very spurless handball at the end of the Newcastle game that was drawn. And look, is the West Ham game a freak? They were 3-0 up and just a mad comeback at the end. The other games, look, 6-1 against Man United, a win away at Burnley, and then a home win against Brighton with Kane just playing brilliantly and Son playing brilliantly and Mourinho loving life. This looks like a very, very hard ask for West Brom. From their point of view, I don't see too much changing, really. I don't know whether you bring back in Gibbs for a bit more experience over Townsend at left back. Furlong, Ivanovic and Ajayi probably stays the same, especially now Higazi has gone. One little tweak in the last game, we had Kravinovic as the deep midfielder, more as a playmaker rather than Livermore as a stopper. I quite like that tactic, but ultimately they lost the game, didn't they? And maybe you'd look at the first Fulham goal in that game and say, would it have been different if Livermore was there and it wasn't Kravinovic? I don't know. We're playing wise after the event here. What I wasn't wise after the event about, however, was the 3 key players for West Brom are Diangana, Pereira and Grant. And if they are like that, and that in a 4-1-4-1, use whatever terminology you're comfortable with, 4-3-3, 4-1-4-1, 4-2-3-1 if the central midfielder is left with the deep player. Use whatever shape you like. What I know is if your 3 key attacking goal-scoring players are farmed out wide and far away from your main forward, that's not a good situation. So I keep saying this. I want to see Pereira a little bit more central and closer to Grant. But maybe Bilic just knows he has to be cautious in these games. And it's risk versus reward. And speaking of risk, there is number 10, Harry Kane. And number 7, Heung-min Son. And Mourinho's going to have the back sorted as well. Lloris, Alderweireld, Dyer, Doherty, Reguilon. So new sort of fullbacks this year for Spurs, Sissoko, Højbjerg. But, I mean, all of that's irrelevant. We know if Kane and Son play well. Doesn't matter whether you're Man City, Liverpool, Manchester United, whoever, West Brom, you're in trouble, aren't you? So, look, I'm going to be predictable on this one. Just if Kane and Son play reasonably well, 6, 7 out of 10, and they're both on the pitch for all 90 minutes, I can't predict anything other than a Spurs victory at the moment in this one. Let's just hope West Brom can get a little bit more joy out of Diangana and Pereira and utilise their skills to their best and not have them filing back in front of their fullbacks too much. Honestly, I really love both players, but if you're going to do that, you may as well, and I said this in the last game, literally take one of them out, play a 4-4-1-1, like Tony Mowbray did with Bradley Dack and Danny Graham in the Championship. Just stick one of them in a free roll off Carl and Grant, because that will actually do more damage and utilise them better, and then just shut up behind 2 banks of 4. Sounds a bit dull, but I don't see it being any worse than what I've seen. And I've watched the last 2 West Brom games against Fulham and against Brighton. And that's been my perception of both. Only 1 goal in both of those games. And that came when Callum Robinson came in. Pereira moved to the middle. Bit more attacking, bit more support. And away we go. Goal goes in against Brighton. But look, I'm predicting a Spurs win. and I apologise for my negativity. And I say leave your bias at the door, but with my dearly departed hat on, I would love to be wrong, but I'm not sure I'm going to be. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. And last but not least, game number 5 for our dearly departed is Chelsea versus Sheffield United. Not going well this season so far for Sheffield United. You can see there, 7 played, 6 defeats, 1 draw in the game against Fulham, who we know statistically won the playoffs, so are the lowest ranked team from last season in the Premier League, and it was a home game and only a draw. And Mitrovic missed a penalty. So, you tell me in the comments, are we starting to worry now about Sheffield United's viability this season? Obviously, we love them in the Championship. They were magnificent. We loved them last season in the Premier League. They were magnificent as well. But they're on a bad run, and we're trying to work out now. And I know Sheffield United fans hate these terminologies. Are we in bubble burst territory? Has the momentum now started to go against Chris Wilder for the first time in his career, frankly, through even Northampton and where was he, Oxford and other places before that. I think I've got that right, haven't I? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. How is he going to respond now? We know he's been a brilliant manager, but chips are down now. Different test for Wilder, isn't it, to come back against this? It's the first time in years he hasn't, been generally winning. I've made a lot of excuses for Sheffield United. I've said, caught cold in the game against Wolves, dodgy red card against Aston Villa, tight game against Leeds, went against them, dodgy decision against David Luiz, couldn't beat Fulham, dodgy, could have had a second penalty against Liverpool, having taken the lead. Man City, though, seemed to be that there was no... look, I know Man City's Man City and they have Kevin De Bruyne, for goodness sake, but there was no mitigating argument that I could make and apologise for Wilder and for the Blades. So let me know. What do you think? Is this now a downward shift in momentum and a downward trend in results that can be fixed? I would hope so. But we know all of Sheffield United's success has come off the back of that pattern of play. O'Connell, Basham, Egan and the wing-backs, and Fleck and Norwood got them there, didn't they? And we're now starting to see a bit of a transition. They've spent money. They've got expensive strikers now in McBurney and Brewster. Where's it going to go? I'm really, really wondering. I feel worried. Am I right to be worried? Let me know in the comments. Chelsea now appear to be getting into things, and you would say, you would have even said this about Lampard's Derby, let alone Lampard's Chelsea. Nice attacking team, going to score goals, going to concede goals. Can they manage games? Well, 3-3 against West Brom, then transitions to 4-0 against Palace. You'd like that. But then another 3-3, then transitions to a 0-0 and a 3-0 win. So, very random. 2 3-3 draws, a 0-0 draw, a 4-0 win, 3-0 win. You've got everything in there, apart from defeats, though. So, obviously, if you're a Chelsea fan, you'd be hoping towards the 3-0s and the 4-0s. We do have to say who they were against. They were against Burnley and Palace. The draws have been against West Brom. So, some hope there. And Southampton and Manchester United. It's a worrying one, though, at the moment, looking at Sheffield United, isn't it? There is what Wilder has arrived at. Obviously, O'Connell is the big miss. Stevens has been pulled back from wing-back into centre-back. I suspect he'll stick with that now and try and develop that. Look, you need to understand in terms of pattern of play, Jack O'Connell, that had been so honed, hadn't it? O'Connell and Stevens ahead with maybe Fleck coming in and helping out. And look, there's no Fleck, there's no O'Connell, and there's no Stevens at wing-back. No offence to Max Lowe or Ben Osborne. I'm just saying that was honed and developed beautifully. So, I don't know. Is there a sense that Wilder needs to... He can't go back to O'Connell because he's injured, but can he get Fleck back in and get Stevens back at wing-back at some point soon. He's not been trusting of Jack Robinson at centre-back, and he seems to be more trusting of Ender Stevens to play that role. So it could be that old football classic of the more versatile you are, the further back you end up going, don't you? You might be able to contribute at forward, but you end up getting put wide if you're, I don't know, Wayne Rooney, Martin Waghorn. I don't know if I've come up with 2 Derby players for that. And maybe Stevens, the more versatile you are, the further back you go, and he ends up in at centre-half. Let's see what he comes up with. Osborne, Ampadu, Berger. I don't know. Lundstrom, contract stuff. Do we want to see Fleck, Norwood, Berger maybe going forward? I don't know. Do we just want to see Norwood full stop, that great playmaker for Sheffield United? Anyway, lots of unanswered questions. And up top there as well, you've now got McBurney, Brewster, McGoldrick, Sharp, Burke. Who does he go with? He's going with the expensive players, not the players that got him there, is what we're seeing at the moment with Brewster and McBurney. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Nothing's worked so far for Sheffield United, so we do not know. By God. Chelsea, again, and my voice drops when I look at the quality of the players. I mean, for goodness sake. Mendy, James, we loved in the Championship. Zuma, Silva has won everything. Chilwell is England. Kante has won everything. Havertz, brilliant in the Bundesliga. Mount is England. Werner, Abraham, Ziyech. Oh, there's a lot of quality in that team. There is a lot of quality in that team. It's so hard for me to predict Sheffield United to get anything. It looks like Chelsea are now just clicking and integrating Havertz and Werner and Ziyech in there. Is it Ziyech or Ziyech? Someone will correct me in the comments. I don't know. I always get expected to pronounce the names of 5 million different players from 100 different countries in 100 different native tongues. I don't know. Anyway, I'm procrastinating because I don't want to predict Sheffield United to lose, but I think that's what's going to happen. Wilder hasn't quite come up with this season's solution. I'm sure if you fast forward to the end of the season and he knows the solution, he'd love to know it right now and just start going with it and stick with it. But yes, troubling times, and let's hope for some points soon for Sheffield United. But I'm not seeing them getting any in this one. I'm so sorry, Blades fans. I'm going for a Chelsea win in this one, a Blades defeat. That brings us to the end, and you might have just seen a quick flash of Pat Bamford, which means we have to thank Coyle, our fan sponsor here, dearly departed, also known as Ben, couldn't bear to lose us over the weekend, mainly Championship stuff. So if you're just here for dearly departed, tune back in on Monday, where we will review these 5 games. And I mean, I've barely predicted. I've predicted 1 victory. Hopefully, we're going to get some points. I do not want 5 defeats. For God's sake, excuse me, please no. But we will be back on Monday the 9th with the review of all of these games. If I can get any of them in quicker, maybe cover some of them on Sunday. I will try my best, but it's tricky business getting this all out. Monday, I think, will be okay, won't it, guys? Get your comments in on any of that stuff. Lots and lots of questions. Do Villa stick with what they've got? Will it work? Do Leeds have a little tweak? Or just continue that same philosophy of the last 2 years? Fulham have reached a winning team. Will it work to stick with it now? West Brom, how do they mitigate caution versus getting the best out of Diangana and Pereira? Sheffield United, what is the solution? What is the 11? And is O'Connell such a big miss that it doesn't matter what the 11 is until he returns? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Lots of topics here. One more plug there for the Teesprings store. It's just literally below right now if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're watching elsewhere, head over to teesprings.com and help me out. Go and buy some merchandise. Government grant on December the 14th, I can claim. Otherwise, this is literally my only income. I love it, but I need to grow it quickly before we're going to go hungry over here at Bloom Residence, let's just say. Right, thank you, everybody, for watching. As usual, love doing the Dearly Departed. It's been an absolutely great show. Had a couple of bits of feedback, which I do take on board, saying, Ben, we understand it's not a fan channel. You don't have to keep reminding us. Thank you guys for your feedback. I do struggle sometimes with my sensitivity to the comments. Sometimes I do overreact. Sometimes I do overdo the caveats. All I can say is I'm working on it. Please give me the feedback. Nice, kind, polite feedback is really, really welcome. I promise I read it. I promise I take it on board, sometimes too much. So hopefully today's been a little bit better and I haven't worried about comments coming in before they've even come in. And I do respect and appreciate every single one of you watching this. And I'm trying to find my way doing it, getting the right balance of good analysis, honesty, and still trying to cope with what that then brings for me and my mental well-being when the comments come in. I'll get there. Thank you for your feedback. It has been taken on board and I'm doing my best. That's all I will say at the moment. And with that being said, it is over and out for Dearly Departed Preview. We'll be back on Monday with the review. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.